Oh, hi there. Welcome to my channel. So a couple of weeks ago, I made a video talking about Ghana's electoral system and why it's seen as one of the most credible, especially on the African continent. So in that video, I started talking about 20 reasons why Ghana's electoral system is seen as credible. So in that video, I covered the first 10 reasons, which mainly covers the pre-election activities and stakeholder engagement and everything that goes on in the country before the actual election day. So today I'm going to talk about the other 10 reasons, starting from number 11. If you haven't watched that video, I will really suggest that you pause this one, go and watch that video, and then come and continue with this one so that you can put things in perspective better. So number 11. So before the actual election happens, one of the things that really, of course, logistically has to happen is distribution of electoral materials around the entire country. So the Electoral Commission will send all the materials required for the polling day, sometimes even a month before, to either a constituency office of the Electoral Commission or a constituency or a district office of maybe sometimes even a police station or regional police station. And all these items are serialized with serial numbers, they are sealed and everything to make sure that no one can actually tamper with them. So the materials they send include biometric materials for obviously validation. They send ballot boxes, ballot papers, the register of names of voters. They will send thumbprints, pads, indelible ink, even identification jackets for Electoral Commission officials, and all other stationery items that will be required on the day. So to make sure that logistically before the actual election day, everything is set up, everything is checked to make sure that things are at the right location as they're supposed to be before the actual election day. Point number 12. About a week before the actual election, Ghana's Electoral Commission organizes what they call special voting. Special voting are usually for security officials in the country who will be working during the actual election day and won't have the opportunity to cast their own ballot. It also includes journalists, other monitors, other people who otherwise will be so much engaged, even the Electoral Commission officials who will be actually working on that actual day. These special voting is organized for them to make sure that they can cast their vote before the actual day. So to make sure that they'll be available without any interference or anything preventing them from doing their job fully. Number 13. Let's talk about the actual election day itself. So on the actual election day this year is 7th of December, which is next week Monday. The Electoral Commission officials, political party monitors, external monitors for each of the polling stations will actually arrive at the polling station, sometimes even at 5 a.m. I've worked for Electoral Commission as a volunteer before a couple of times, and my family we all do help in Ghana's electoral process. So you go there usually around 5 in the morning, even though the election will start at 7 in the morning. And then you wait for your materials to be delivered. So once they are delivered, you have about 2 hours to check to make sure that everything is correct, everything is there. If you are missing any item, that's an opportunity to actually inform either the constituency returning officer, the district returning officer, to make sure that everything is rectified before 7 a.m. when the general public start coming in to cast their vote. So it also gives you the opportunity to set the place up properly, to make sure in the age of obviously COVID pandemic and social distancing, they need to make sure that they put things in place to make sure that people are at distance, there are information about COVID and how people should behave, when they should sanitize, when they need to sanitize at the polling station. So all these are set up actually before people arrive at 7 a.m. Polling starts at 7 a.m. and finishes at 5 p.m. Same day. So let's talk about the actual voting itself. What happens when people come? So the system has been set up such a way that when a voter arrives at the polling station, the first person they go to, right, is the electoral officer who looks after the register. The voter will show his or her ID card, and then the officer will actually check to make sure that the person's name is in the register and it is ticked off as a person actually coming to vote. And then the voter will then move to the validation officer who will be monitoring the validation machine. So the voter will then need to put their fingerprint or thumbprint on the biometric register. It will validate them as being one of the voters at the polling station or registered voters at the polling station. Their picture will show on the machine, and then from there they'll move to another officer who will actually give them the presidential ballot paper, right? Once they take the presidential ballot paper out of the booklet, they need to stamp at the back EC's validation stamp to make sure that that ballot will be counted. So then the voter will just go to the polling booth, presidential polling booth, and thumbprint against wherever they want to choose, and then they put it in the ballot paper. Next, they will then move to another officer who will give them the parliamentary ballot paper with all the parliamentary candidates on it. And the same way, the voter will then go to the polling box for the parliamentary candidate, and then obviously thumbprint against the parliamentary candidates that they want to select, or who they want to represent them in the parliament. Now, after that, the voter is supposed to leave the polling station. They are allowed to come back after 5 p.m. and watch the ballots being counted, but they are not allowed to hang around or congregate, or they can stand in a distance if they want to stand there, but they are not allowed to interfere in any way. And on that day as well, don't forget, voters are not allowed to wear party paraphernalia when they are coming to cast their vote or do any political campaigning or activities or cause any issues at the polling station. So that's how the whole voting system goes. Yeah. Number 14, one of the reasons why the system is not very credible is the activeness of various monitors. Each of the political parties will have a monitor sitting at the polling station throughout. They will observe everything to make sure that yes, people's names are really in the register, and the people have been validated on the machine. They've been given just one ballot paper. They all sit there to make sure that, so if there are 14 or 12 political parties, all their representatives will be sitting there and watching to make sure that things go on. So in some of the polling stations, they will also have external monitors, other stakeholders, journalists coming around. These monitors are very, very key to the whole electoral system. They ensure that the EC officials do their job, and they also follow the law of elections and how everything is monitored. If something goes on, they are not happy, it got to be settled, or it got to be trashed out, or it got to be corrected before everything actually goes on. So number 15, let's talk about post-election. Once the elections are really done, once they finish with everything, what happens? The votes at each polling station will be counted. So electoral officials, they will bring everything in the ballot paper, usually on a table, and they will begin to count them, and then they will separate them into various candidates, and then they begin to count them, and these will be monitored by the political party officials to make sure that wherever they count is the correct one, right? So each one will be monitored. If a ballot is destroyed or whatever, if the EC official, some people can destroy their ballots, or some people will invalidate their vote one way or the other. If any party official feels that the vote should be invalidated, they can actually protest and things can be resolved there. So they monitor to make sure that if you say party A got 10, it's 10. If you say party B got 50, it's 50. You cannot change anything. You cannot count and give wrong figures or overestimate figures. And one of the things that you need to note here is that once they count the entire ballot papers from the box, they need to make sure that the total ballot cast matches the number of people validated on the biometric machine. It also matches the people that has been taken off as voted in the register. Make sure. So this is really, really key. So all the three got to match somehow. If not, they got to actually sort it out, by rechecking things to make sure that everything is order. So this will be done to make sure that nobody can inflate any figures or add more to it or take some out of it. So that's really, really crucial, and they do that. And then what they do, one of the crucial bit of the Ghana's elections at this point, once they counted the vote, is to record them on a sheet, what usually they call a pink sheet, electoral commission sheet, more or less, what is more or less like a declaration of results sheet, right, for each polling station. On there, they record the numbers against each candidate, what each candidate got at the polling station. And note here, electoral officials will sign to say, this is the true reflection of what happened, votes we counted at this polling station, right? And then the political party monitors have to also sign to validate, to say, yes, we can confirm that this is the result from this polling station, right? And then a copy is given to each of the political party representatives, who will send them to their political parties. They also do their own collations anywhere in their headquarters, wherever the offices are. So copies are really, really sent to everyone by them. And then the electoral officers will also paste a copy of the results at the polling center by close of the day, so that the general public who wants to know who got what will also know straight away. So the next one, number 16. Copies of this pink sheet is then sent to the constituency office of the Electoral Commission. So the constituency electoral returning officer will receive them from each of the polling stations. Sometimes each of the polling stations can send them to the district, and the district can send them to constituency. It doesn't matter how they do it. Eventually, everything will be collated in the constituency head office. And then the constituency returning officer will then declare who won to be a member of parliament, who won the parliamentary seat for that constituency. So he announced it. He also announced what each of the presidential candidates got, but he doesn't have the right to obviously declare the presidential elections, since he wouldn't have figures for other constituencies anyway. What the person will do is to send a copy of the results to the Electoral Commission headquarters. Electoral Commission headquarters. So number 17. Okay. So once the results are then sent to the Electoral Commission headquarters, they also have a collation room. In that collation room, they have political party monitors. Each of the political parties, sometimes you have 2-3 people sitting there, making sure that once the EC receive copies of the pink sheet or the declaration of the results sheet from each polling center or constituent, wherever it is, the correct data is entered onto their system, right? So that they don't inflate or underinflate somebody's vote. These are monitored rigorously to make sure that they do that. Of course, by this time, the political party representatives, they will know already, because their representative would have sent copies to their own collation room. So they will know what their candidate got in each constituency, each district, or even polling station. So the Electoral Commission can't change anything in this way. So the Electoral Commission will put everything together to make sure that things are correct, and then usually they will get that validation. I don't think it's really necessary, but they will get all the political party representatives to sign to say that yes, they believe that this is a true reflection of the results and everything. So that's really what happens there. And then number 18 comes to declaration of the results itself. So once they are collated, or they have enough more or less data coming in from the entire country. Obviously, they will keep collating and collating. At some point, even when not all the results are in, they believe that the significant number of the results are in, and what's left, maybe if just one constituency left and wouldn't make much of a difference to presidential figures, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission herself will then come to declare the results of the presidential elections, who won the presidential election to be the president-elect and eventually become the president of Ghana come January 2021. So they will announce the results. You go to all the candidates' names, what each of them got in numbers and in percentage terms. They go to one by one. This year, I mentioned there are 12 candidates on the ballot. Go to each one of them to make sure that you give all the figures, all the correct figures to the general public and the international committee, whoever is watching. And then after that's done, we then declare to say that by the power vested in her, by the Republic of Ghana, I hereby declare so and so the president-elect for the Republic of Ghana. So that's really the end of the process really. However, number 19, the other thing they will do is post-election issues. So number 19, usually they will do about any legal challenges that will come up. Some people, there are even places where the actual election day, somebody is not happy, they can go to a high court and place an injunction on an election area. So that got to go to the court system. So the election might be postponed, to the next day or two for that to actually happen. So the Electoral Commission have to deal with all that to make sure that everything is done perfectly, all those are sorted, all legal issues. So obviously they have their lawyers to make sure that everything is argued, any clarity that's required by a court of law is done. And then number 20, the final thing that the Electoral Commission does is to gazette the results of the elections and make sure that it's kept in the records, for future generation and everything. So that's how the elections are run from the first part. I talk about the pre-election activities and how open it is, how there are checks and balances, and then we come to the actual election day. A whole lot of checks and balances to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So in Ghana, there is a term that elections are won or lost at a polling station. Once they are cast, people cast their vote, they are counted, they are recorded. No one within the chain can change any results because everyone else, almost all the stakeholders, will have the correct results in their hands. So you cannot go anywhere to actually fiddle any figures or change anything to suit somebody you want. So that's how the whole system is run. Let's keep the conversation going. How is elections run in your country, really? Is there anything that you believe that Ghana can learn from your country? How processes are run, how things are done in your country? Or is there anything that you believe that your country can actually learn from Ghana? Let's keep the conversation going and make sure, we build strong institutions and strong systems to develop our continent. Please subscribe to the channel, and then I hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.